Hey, welcome back to your All I Need podcast, the podcast where relationships and culture intersect. I'm Lo. This is Joe.
Hey guys.
How you doing today, Joe?
I'm good. I'm just trying to double check that we're not live on something.
It's not connected to anything to go live.
Okay.
Um, we're back with that part. Of course, we're in season 2, and this season we're going to release an original episode interviewing another couple or another person or another recent couples. And then the following week, we're going to try to dive back into the topics that were discussed that previous week on the episode for that part. And so we are returning after interviewing Eric and Tifinie Capehart.
Yeah.
We discussed a couple of things, but amongst them was buying a home and doing that as a couple, going through that process. What should couples think about? What should they look out for? And avoiding those pitfalls that you might run into. So, Joe, want to dive into some of that? I have a question for you, but did you have a comment before I threw my question out?
Go ahead and give me your question. What you got, babe?
Well, Tifinie gave a couple pieces of advice, but just thinking about everything she said, and they talked about their home buying experience. Do you think we did any of that during our experience? Did we experience? I mean, some of it came up, like the financial piece.
Yeah. Well, I think for us, and I don't encourage couple to do what we did. We a lot going on when we went through the home buying process.
We did.
And so like I've mentioned this on the show, but I do feel like I had a little bit of PTSD. Like we went through a lot and
give them some context.
We're gonna
was a lot.
Yeah, we're gonna be very transparent and be very vulnerable. So when we were going through the home buying process, we sold our home. And when we sold our home, Lionel was gearing up for a campaign. He was running at that time for council at large. So we had that.
This was 2015.
Yeah. So we had that going on. And then.
But before you go on, like we sold our home, we put our home on the market. We expected for it to take a couple months. It took 3 weeks to sell our house.
It was like, insane.
It was so hot right then. Yeah. And Nashville's probably still like that. But
yeah. So we, sold our home fairly fast, very quickly. Mind you, Ari was like 6 months old. So we were still in like newborn phase.
Still wasn't sleeping all the way through.
We just had a lot. So at that time, like I said, Lionel was gearing up for a huge campaign because his campaign it was a citywide race. So that was just big within itself. And he was super excited about it and, just trying to be supportive of him and his next ventures. And then once we sold our house, we didn't have anywhere to go. Like we were literally homeless. I mean, we were excited about selling our home and getting that out of the way. But
now we could have gone to my parents, but we talked about like reducing stress. That probably would have added a little
that was
to the whole situation.
Too much. So thankfully we had a really one of our best friends. She allowed us to come and stay with her. She has
she was actually out of the country.
Yeah, she was out of the country.
So we were house sitting.
So she was like, you guys can, take care of my house while I'm out of the country. Well, during that period, and we were building our home from the ground up. And that is a whole nother process that I wish we would have dived more into with Tifinie and Eric, because they did the same thing. They built their house from the ground up. So that's another stressor. But in that, we actually found out like we were pregnant during that time. And I ended up having a miscarriage. And so it was just a lot of like, when I talk about our home buying process, like it is a blur to me. And there are some things that I'm like, I don't even remember because there was just so much stuff going on. And just so many things happening all at the same time. And and the miscarriage was really big because I knew like my body and mentally, physically, like I just wasn't in the right headspace to even to be carrying a child, and it like I understood what was happening, and mental stress is real. So yeah, like our home buying process, I just think now, like looking back, I know that there were things that I didn't appreciate enough, like, really like live in the moment of it. Um, but I know that there are also things like that it was my first time buying a home. But I know that I trusted you enough to handle a lot of the things that took place with the financial part of it. Like there are some things that I'm like, I don't even know if we put down any assets, if we put down, because Lionel handled a lot of that, and that's horrible. And so, if we ever do buy a house again, which I'm pretty sure we will, Lionel always says that we won't, but I mean, we're outgrowing the house that we're in now.
I'm gonna have to forget that last experience for me to go and do the experience again.
I'm more mature and ready now. Like I'm ready for it now. Okay. But I just like I mean, if we ever do decide to build or to buy a home again, like I said, which I'm pretty sure we will.
She keeps saying that, thinking that I'm gonna listen.
You are. I mean, we're growing out of the house that we're in now.
I hear you.
You hear me, but you don't feel me. You feel me?
I hear you. I don't know if I'm listening yet.
So I will be more present, is what I'm trying to say. I'll be more present in the situation of us going through that process, because Lionel is he's the more financial savvy one in the relationship. So I really trust him a lot in making decisions for us financially, and that's just us in our relationship. So,
well, I definitely agree that, it was really a stressful time. We handled it well, but we could have used an Eric the counselor, back then, right, as we were going through that situation. Aside from like all the craziness, all the selling the house early, having the house sit until our house was built, pregnancy, aside from all of that, the process of actually like going through selecting floor plans and all of that, like, is there anything that you wish we had done differently when it just came to the process? Because I feel one of the pieces of advice that Eric and Tiffany gave was like plan and prepare.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we didn't take the time to do that.
But we didn't have the time. Like, when were we supposed to? I just remember that year, like that was one of the 2020 hosts. 2020 hosts the ground. But that year was just one of the worst years for us in our relationship. Like I just remember like our anniversary, like usually we go all out for our anniversary and we do, so much. And I just remember that year it was like, oh, you off work? All right, I'm off work too. Let's just go down here and get something to eat from this restaurant. Yeah. Like, I mean, it was just because there was just so much going on. Like we had Ari, like I said, you had your campaign and you were working full time, and you were just, and y'all, if you've never experienced or volunteered with someone on the campaign trail, like there's a lot that goes into it, and like that person has to literally be everywhere at once. And so I just remember like every evening, every day, it was like, I gotta go here, I gotta speak at this, I gotta show my face at this, I gotta do this. And so it was just a lot happening. So I think looking back, like, yeah, just being, we didn't have time to plan. Like we didn't really have time to plan. We didn't have time to process a lot of it, because our house sold so fast. And I just remember we were even scrambling, trying to figure out when we were going to move. Like, how are we going to get all of this stuff out of the house? How are we?
Shout out to, I don't know if they're still in business, but Green Truck Movers.
Yeah, like it was just, I mean, it was crazy. So I just think the planning and preparation definitely is one of them that I think we, unfortunately, inevitably we were having to make decisions just like on a whim and really just going with what worked at the time. So hopefully in our next move we'll have time to plan.
Yeah, another thing that they brought up was the fact that they didn't really take a lot of things from the old house. So they kind of
Yeah.
were at this point where the kids had outgrown certain stuff, or they had either uh, messed it up to a point where they didn't want to take it anymore and they needed to replace it anyway. And so that was nice too. I know we got like some new furniture, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And you know,
But when we
I know
move
you'll
in,
probably want all new furniture.
yeah, when we move into our
I'm probably
new
not gonna want to do all new furniture.
shoot, you ain't gonna have no choice. The way your kids
Um,
tear all this stuff up,
I
honey,
mean,
we ain't gonna have
like
no choice. I'm gonna need a
living
whole
room stuff like that. That's in like public places that
yeah,
when
all
our
of that
guests
is
come over,
has to
it's
go.
fine. But like the kids' beds, they
Oh
just got
no,
those
that
beds. Those
stuff,
beds are
yeah.
fine. They're gonna sleep in those beds today. They
No,
probably have those beds.
no, that ain't.
I mean, the full
Time out,
beds.
time out, time out. My kids gonna need some new beds after a while. Anyway,
They're gonna
well,
get jobs and buy a new bed. That's what they're gonna do.
but
But yeah,
no, yeah, I
if
agree.
we ever do it again, definitely want to take the time, do it right, plan, prepare, and just have that sound peace of mind.
Yeah, and I think the other like thing, I mean, I'm sure like couples who are going through this or who are home buying, I think the one thing that we did properly plan for and properly like have that conversation with each other was our finances, of like our credit and things like that, of knowing like what we had on our credit, what needed to be, taken care of and paid off. Like I think we did, that was like the one thing that we did do together, and that we figured out like, all right, this is what we need to take care of, and we need to figure out what our assets are and all of that stuff.
Well,
So
we had a great mortgage broker. Shout out to Denny Marshall too. Like he was great at like looking at different things and giving us advice on what we needed to do to clean up certain piece of credit. So if you have a mortgage broker that you're working with, make sure that you have a good relationship, that you trust them, and that they're giving you the right advice
yeah.
to navigate through all of that.
And I think, in that, I know I made it seem like it was just, I mean, it was a lot, but we also had a really good realtor. Like
We did.
Jonathan
Yeah.
Dobson was amazing.
He was
Like,
off the chain, but he sold the house.
but I mean, he sold it, but I mean, he was also good with just walking us through that process of even selling our house, because like,
I mean, it sold in 3 weeks.
yeah,
So
like, I mean,
he was on the top of his stuff.
yeah, like he was just even good, because I didn't feel any stress per se on the selling end of like, all right, this is what we need to do to get our house prepared to go on the market, because he was just so, it was seamless of how he walked us through that and how he took care of majority of the things of getting our house prepared for to be on the market. So I did feel really good about that. But
yeah, that's my guy, and he did like something that was like really special when we moved in this house, and it was a couple months later because we were waiting for it to be built. We had a basket at the house when we walked in, and it was from him.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's so thoughtful that he would even like be aware that we were moving into a new house. He really didn't have too much to do with the new house buying process because we bought from the builder, and it was new construction. But that was just over the top, above and beyond on his part, of being a realtor and being really thoughtful. And that's my guy. You know?
All right. Well, let's dive into, I do have 7 tips for couples who are home buying, and first time home buying tips for couples. And I am getting this, my source is from the Budget Savvy Bride. It's a website. So if you're ever needing some advice and tips. So
great font in that logo too.
It's such a hater. Be happy we're recording. All right. Number 1 is polish your credit. So, make sure that, you're making payments on time, that you have lowered your debt to utilization ratio, and that you're double checking your credit report so that there aren't any mistakes. And I will add, make sure that you're being transparent about your credit. Like, don't blindside your boo with, all the crazy stuff that's on your credit. Be upfront. It's okay. Just be upfront and tell them. And then number 2, pay off any outstanding debt. So any debt, when you apply for a mortgage, the lender will look at your total debt compared to your income, and if the percentage is too high, you won't qualify. So make sure you're paying off a lot of the debt that you have, especially those credit cards. And lenders take into account all kinds of debt. So student loans, personal loans, car loans, anything else that you owe money on. The less debt that you have, the better the mortgage you would qualify for. So
just to butt in real quick, even if you're not looking for a house and you're married, those first 2 are good things to do anyway to prepare yourselves for that moment. But just to get your financial stability in order for the relationship period, those are two good pieces of advice.
Yeah. Number 3 is save up a nest egg. So most people are going to spend a good $5,000 to $10,000 on their new home in the first year. So you'll want to have at least that much set aside, so you don't go into debt any further than what you already need to. Number 4, budget effectively. So, of course, if you are having conversations about buying a new home, or, eventually buying one, go ahead and start budgeting for that. Go ahead and start, cutting expenses on things that you may be indulging in. Unfortunately, you may have to cancel that Netflix. It'll be okay.
You'll probably get somebody else's password anyway.
I mean, dang, Netflix is gonna come for you.
I don't share passwords,
but it's better to budget hard.
I know plenty of people that do though.
A snitch too, but it's better to budget hard for a shorter period of time than to slack and have it take forever. And I've learned, just some budget savvy tips to go ahead and have it to do the direct deposit from your paycheck. I promise you it will help you. It'll play mind tricks on you, but it's the best thing. You won't even see it going out, because if you trust yourself enough to say that you're going to transfer when you get paid on Fridays, that you're going to transfer a certain amount to another banking account, it never works and it never happens. So go ahead and set up the direct deposit so that it automatically comes out of your paycheck every pay period. It helps. And then number 5 is find the right agent. We talked about this a little bit. I don't even know how we found Jonathan Dobson, but
Jonathan is my guy.
He's awesome. I know Jonathan. He's a Nashvilleian, and so I've known him for years, back when we were like elementary, middle school. So I've known him for years. But find the right agent, do some research. Shout out to Tifinie Capehart. She's another amazing agent. So do your research, find one that works for you and your family, for your situation, and trust that agent. There's so many ways for you to find a great agent out here. And then number 6, know what you're looking for. So Tiffany and Eric talked about this, come to a decision as a couple of what you're looking for, what type of house, what part of the city you want to be in, if you want to be in the city or not. So that way you're not all over the place looking at houses, because that takes up so much time. Lonell and Lo had already made it clear the day that we got married that we're never leaving Bordeaux ever, 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 ever in our lives. You did.
That's probably true.
So
it's probably true. We could own property outside of Bordeaux, like investment homes or vacation homes.
But he's like,
home.
He's like, this is where we're living. So
Bordeaux, all that.
So I knew that we weren't going to be looking for houses or homes in Brentwood or in East Nashville or out south. Like, I just knew. So come to a consensus and know what you guys are looking for. And then number 7, this is a good one. Don't rush. So picking the wrong house is not a mistake easily remedied. So take your time and make sure you're getting the house that you want in the neighborhood you want to live in. It is not like house hunters. I know some of y'all think that home buying is like that, but it's not. Take your time. and don't rush.
That was actually going to be my number 8 that's not on this list is watch HGTV. Like,
you can watch it, but I mean, don't think that that's realistic. Like those people, they aren't looking for homes in a 60-minute segment.
No, not for that purpose, but they do ask really good questions. They, watch how they kind of what they pay attention to when they go into homes, the questions that they're asking. And those probably should be some of the same questions that you're asking during that process. Jahari loves to watch HDTV.
I do.
I really can't stand it. And I'm giving the advice, but I can't stand it because I really don't plan on buying another house. So I don't know why she's really watching it that much. Like,
but we will one day.
Why are you watching other people buy homes if we're not going to buy another one?
We are one day. We're either going to build a new one or we're going to buy one. Because our home, we're outgrowing it. We got a lot. There's too many people in this house for this house. So anywho, so those are my 7 tips.
Those are good tips.
Thank you to the Budget Savvy Bride. They always come through with great advice. So if you are home buying, 1, good luck to you in your search. And then 2, if you haven't already, check out our season 2, episode 1 with Tiffany and Eric, because there were a lot of great gems that were dropped that can help you even more. So,
and if you are in the home buying process, you're thinking about it in the next couple of years, or you've been through it and you want to share your perspective, hit us up on social media at You're All I Need Podcast on Instagram, at You're All I Need GC on Facebook and just let us know what we could share with other people.
Yeah. Or if you have a question, you can always hit us up in our DMs, or you can email us at you'reallineedpodcast@com.
That part. See you next time.
Peace.